Hello once again, senior high school students. Now we will be discussing about the lesson number 6 entitled Roles and Responsibilities of the Branches of Government. Our objectives: at the end of the lesson, you will be able to explain the rules and responsibilities of the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches of government. Discuss the powers and functions of the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches of government. Assess the impact of performance of the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches of government. To start with our lessons, let's have the Article 2 and 1987 Constitution on the Declaration of Principles and State Policies. Under Principles, on Section 1, that our country, the Philippines, is a democratic and republican state. Sovereignty resides in the people, and all government authority emanates from them. Let's have the structure and composition of our government. Let's start with the Legislative Department. On Article 6, Section 1, the legislative power shall be vested in the Congress of the Philippines, which shall consist of the Senate and the House of Representatives, except to the extent reserved to the people by the provision on initiative and referendum. Section 2. The Senate shall be composed of 24 senators who shall be elected at large by the qualified voters of the Philippines, as may be provided by law. Section 5, Paragraph 1. The House of Representatives shall be composed of not more than 250 members unless otherwise fixed by law, who shall be elected from the legislative districts apportioned among the provinces, cities, and the metropolitan Manila area in accordance with the number of their respective inhabitants, and on the basis of a uniform and progressive ratio, and those who, as provided by law, shall be elected through a party-list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations. Paragraph 2. The party list representatives shall constitute 20% of the total number of representatives, including those under the party list. For 3 consecutive terms after the ratification of this Constitution, one half of the seats allocated to party list representatives shall be filled, as provided by law, by selection or election from the labor, peasant, urban poor, indigenous cultural communities, women, youth, and such other sectors as may be provided by law except the religious sector. And paragraph 3, each legislative district shall comprise, as far as practicable, contiguous, compact, and adjacent territory. Each city with a population of at least 250,000 or each province shall have at least one representative. Now let's come to Executive Department. On Article 7, Section 3, there shall be a Vice President who shall have the same qualifications and terms of office and be elected with and in the same manner as the President. He may be removed from the office in the same manner as the President. The Vice President may be appointed as a member of the Cabinet. Such appointment requires no confirmation. On our Judicial Department, under Article 8, Section 1, the judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such lower courts as may be established by law. Section 4 on Paragraph 1. The Supreme Court shall be composed of a Chief Justice and 14 Associate Justices. It may sit en banc or in its discretion in divisions of 3, 5, or 7 members. Any vacancy shall be filled within 90 days from the occurrence thereof. And on the principle of the separation of powers as a republican state, under the principle of co-equal and coordinate powers among the three branches, the officers entrusted with each of these powers are not permitted to encroach upon the powers confided to the others. On Article 2, as we have read earlier, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution states that the Philippines is a democratic and republican state. One of the manifestations of republicanism is separation of powers among the three co-equal branches of government, namely the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. If one department goes beyond the limits set by the Constitution, its acts are null and void. On the principle of checks and balances, in the separation of powers, as the principle deeply ingrained in constitutional law, also called the system of checks and balances. This doctrine grants certain powers to the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government as a way of balancing and checking each other. Let's try to see on the executive department. It may veto through the president or disapprove bills enacted by Congress. Section 27, paragraph 1. Through pardoning power, the executive may modify or set aside the judgment of the courts in Article 2, Section 19. And on legislative department, Congress may override the veto of the President two-thirds of the actual vote as provided in Section 27, paragraph 1. Reject certain appointments of the President in Article 2, Section 16. Revoke the proclamation of martial law or suppression of the writ of habeas corpus by the President. Article 7, Section 18. Amend or revoke the decision of the court by the enactment. And for the judicial department, the Supreme Court as the final arbiter may declare legislative measures or executive acts unconstitutional, as provided by Article 8, Section 4, Paragraph 2. Determine whether or not there has been a grave abuse of discretion, amount to lack or excess of jurisdiction on the part of the Congress or President, as provided in the Article 8, Section 2, Paragraph 2. Now let's move to the qualifications of the officials of our national government. On executive, it composed of a president as the chief executive and vice president and cabinet officials. The president and vice president must be a natural born citizens of the Philippines, registered voters, able to read and write, and at least 40 years of age on the day of the election, residents of the Philippines for at least 10 years immediately preceding the election. And for legislative, for senators, natural born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, able to read and write, at least 35 years of age on the day of the election, a resident of the Philippines for not less than 2 years immediately preceding the election. And still on the legislative, for the House of Representatives, members, natural born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, able to read and write, at least 25 years of age on the day of the election, a resident of the Philippines for not less than 1 year immediately preceding the election, except for party list representative, a registered voter in the district in which he or she shall be elected, and for party list, a bona fide member of the party or organization in which he or she seeks to represent for at least 90 days preceding the day of the election. And for the judicial department, a justice must be a natural born citizen of the Philippines, at least 40 years of age. He or she must have for 15 years or more been a judge of a lower court or engaged in the practice of law in the Philippines. He or she must be a person of proven competence, integrity, probity, and independence. On the term of office of our officials in the national government, from legislative department, the senators have two consecutive terms of 6 years each. For members of House of Representatives, three consecutive terms of 3 years each. And for executive department, for president, one term of 6 years without re-election. For vice president, two consecutive terms of 6 years each. And for the judicial department, for the justices, no term limit, but they are mandated to hold office during good behavior until 70 or incapacitated. And on the power of government on the legislative branch under Article 6. It has the power to enact laws, police power, power of eminent domain, power of taxation, the power to choose who shall become president in case of tie, Section 4, Paragraph 4, the power to impose death penalty, Article 3, Section 19, the power to act as Constituent Assembly, Article 17, Section 1, the power to declare the existence of war, Section 23, the power to confirm the appointments of government officials, Section 19, the power to ratify treaty, Article 7, Section 21, the power to conduct investigation in aid of legislation, Section 21, immunity from arrest for offenses punishable by not more than 6 years imprisonment, Section 11, the power to appropriate money, Section 24 and 25, and the power to impeach in Article 11, Section 2. And for the power of government in the executive branch, found in Article 7, the power to implement laws, administrative power and control over the agencies of the government, Section 17, the power to appoint government officials, Section 16, the power to commute sentence, grant pardon, reprieve, and amnesty, Section 19, the power to declare martial law, Section 18, the power to suspend the privilege of writ of habeas corpus, and Section 18, the power to veto a law, in Article 6, Section 7, the power and supervision and control over the local government, in Article 10, Section 4, and the power to conduct treaty and international agreement with other states in Section 21. And on the power of government by our judicial branch in Article 8, it has the power to interpret laws, the power of judicial review, in which the power to determine whether there has been a grave abuse of discretion, lack or excess of jurisdiction of any branch or instrumentality of the government. In Section 4, Paragraph 2, adjudication power, Section 1, Paragraph 2, the power to determine the validity and constitutionality of the laws of the state, the power to settle actual controversies involving rights which are legally demandable and enforceable, assign temporary judges of lower courts to other stations as public interest may require, order the change of venue or place of trial to avoid a miscarriage of justice, and appoints all officials and employees of the judiciary in accordance with the civil service law. Now, before we end our discussions on the lesson, let's have first the meaning of impeachment. When we say impeachment, it is the process by which a legislative body or other legally constituted tribunal initiates charges against a public official for misconduct. It may be understood as a unique process involving both political and legal elements. Its purpose is to protect the people from official delinquencies or malfeasances. It is therefore primarily intended for the protection of the state, not for the punishment of the offender. The penalties attached are merely incidental to the primary intention of protecting the people as a body politic. And what are the grounds for impeachment? Culpable violation of the Constitution, treason, bribery, graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes. And who are impeachable? President and Vice President, members of the Supreme Court, members of the Constitutional Commission, and the Ombudsman. Okay, class, see you in our next lesson. Stay safe always.